What's up? Welcome to Project One. For Project One, we are going to start really simple. We're going to focus on the very basics of modeling with Maya. I think it's really important that we start off with some really basic concepts. We're going to be building a really simple temple just using primitive polygons. We're not going to be doing any really advanced modeling, nothing like extrusions or anything like that. We just want to start small because one of the most imposing things about Maya is that there's so many things, there's so many editors and icons and buttons and shelves and options, and it can get really, really overwhelming. And I think the best way to deal with that is just take your time, take it slow, get comfortable with a few of the tools, and then just work your way up to some more complex stuff. So we're going to start really small. We're just going to build a simple building just using some shapes. We're going to be stacking them, scaling them, rotating them. It's going to be a lot like playing with Legos, and that's going to be it. In this first part, we're really just going to focus on setting up our project folder, saving our scene, and learning how to move around Maya a little bit. First thing you're going to do, I'm going to close Maya. Well, I'm going to drop it down. You're going to go to desktop. You're going to create a new folder. This is going to be your class folder for the rest of the semester. Um, you can name it anything you want, doesn't matter to me. All that is important is that you give it a name that you can remember. Okay, this is my class folder. Inside of this folder, every single project you create for MAT 136 is going to go inside of this folder. Every project, every assignment, every final, whatever you create in this class is going to go inside this folder. Let's go back to Maya. First thing we're going to do here, we're going to create the project folder. How you do that? You're going to go up to File, you're going to go down to Project Window, and you're going to click New. You're going to give it a name. Now, I do provide a page on Canvas that gives you the guide to how you're going to be naming your projects, but I'm going to show you here as well. I'm going to put P for project 1 because this is project 1 underscore the first initial of your first name, your last name underscore, and the name of the project. In this case, it is Temple. You're now going to go choose the location of where you're saving this project folder. You're going to click this little folder icon right here, and it's going to open up a window where you can select the location. In this case, we're going to go to desktop. We're going to go to the class folder that I just made, and we're going to select it. And you can see now that it is selected. It's showing you that this project folder is going to be saved in our class folder. Hit accept. Awesome. We just created our project folder. Let's save this scene right now. Let's go to File. Let's go to Save Scene As. Make sure you're inside of your project folder. So let's go to Desktop, MAT 136. We're going to click on the project folder, and we're going to click Scenes. I'm going to talk about scenes in just a second. We're going to open up Scenes, and let's give this scene a name. In this case, I'm just going to name it Temple, keeping it easy. Let's click Save As. So we just saved this scene, and you can tell because in the top left corner, it now has the name temple.mb. MB stands for Maya Binary. And Maya Binary is the default file that Maya saves its scenes as. You're never going to submit just a basic MB file like this. You're always going to submit your entire project folder for your assignment. So we created our project folder and we just saved our first version of our scene here. So let's take a look at that. I'm going to drop down Maya. I'm going to close this. I'm going to open up our class folder. There's our project folder. I'm going to click inside. Now, taking a look inside, Maya gives you some very basic default folders with every project folder that you create. They're all fairly important, but right now I just want you to be aware of the most important one, which is scenes. When I click inside of the scenes folder, there's our first scene that we saved, our temple MB file. So we have our project folder set up. We have our first scene saved. Let's go back to Maya. All right, back inside Maya, we're going to take a look at how to move around your scene. We're going to take a look at some of the tools that we have for moving around our polygons and some other things like that. So first, let's take a look at our ground plane here. This right here is our ground plane. It doesn't actually exist. It is just kind of like a grid to use as a guide. If we were to render out this scene, this would not be visible. So we have our ground plane, and there are 3 basic movements in Maya. And let me tell you about those. So if you hold Alt and the left mouse button, you have this ability to rotate freely around your scene, up and down, side to side, all around. If you hold Alt and your middle mouse button, you have this ability to pan back and forth and up or down. If you hold Alt and your right mouse button, you have this ability to zoom in and zoom out. In other words, dolly. Dolly in, dolly out. You can also do that by just using your middle mouse wheel, just by scrolling in, scrolling out. So those are the 3 basic movements in Maya. Let's talk a little bit about our movement tools over here. So this right here is your poly modeling shelf. These are where your primitive polygons are. In other words, your very basic shapes. You also have your primitive polygons under the Create tab, polygon primitives right here. This is just to show you that although Maya looks really overwhelming with all of these different editors and icons and buttons, it's actually the same thing repeated in different places. So you have the poly modeling shelf right here. You also have it underneath Create polygon primitives. So I'm just going to bring down a cylinder. So I just had my cylinder appear in the middle of our ground plane right here. Let's take a look at these tools right here. So we have 3 different tools. We have the Move tool, which is W on your keyboard, the Rotate tool, which is E, and the Scale tool, which is R. So right now I have it selected. I have the Move tool selected. And with it selected, we can take a look at the 3 different axes that your polygon can move on. So if we were to just click in the middle, you have this ability to just freely move your polygon all around the screen, back and forth, up or down, just completely free. The issue is that it's hard to tell how far back it is, how far forward it is, and you can really lose track of where this polygon is in your scene. So it's actually really helpful to just use your different arrows here. If I click this top arrow and move it on the y-axis, I have this ability to go up and down. If I move it on the z-axis, I have the ability to move it back and forth. If I click this arrow, I can move it on the x-axis, which can move it right or left. So keeping it simple, green is y-axis, up and down. Blue is z-axis, back and forth. Red is x-axis, right and left. With the rotation tool, which is E on your keyboard, you have this awesome ability to do the same thing. You can just click it in the middle and you can rotate it freely, but that can get confusing really fast. So I would say it's just more useful to do more uniform rotations by clicking the individual axes. So once again, we have the blue, you could do right or left, the red, forward or backward, or green in this case, which goes back and forth like this. If you're trying to do more uniform or precise rotations or movements, we do have the channel box over here on the right-hand side. And if you take a look at the channel box, you have all of these numbers. And what these numbers are just movement, translate X, Y, and Z, rotation, X, Y, and Z, scale, X, Y, and Z. Translate's just another word for move using 3D modeling terms. So you actually have this ability to just input numbers for each axis, either for movement, like so, or rotation, and I'm just putting in some random numbers. And this gives you the ability to be more precise with your movement, your rotation, and your scaling. So I just did some crazy things. I just put in some random numbers and it scaled it, it moved it, and it rotated it. So this is really handy for precise movements or rotations or scaling. The awesome thing also about using the channel box is if you just fill it with zeros all the way up to scale, and then fill your scale X, Y, and Z with ones, you actually bring it back to its original state. So that's really handy if you've made so many rotations and movements and scales and you're like, this is crazy, I want to take it back to its default state. You just put zeros in the translates, zeros in the rotates, and ones in the scales. You also have this ability to toggle on the visibility of your polygon. So that's pretty handy. The last tool, we just went over the movement and the rotation. The last tool is the scale tool. So that's going to be R on your keyboard. With the scale tool, it does exactly what it sounds like. You can scale it. So if I grab it from the middle, I can scale it up or down. Or if I grab it on its individual axes, you can scale it left or right, forward or backward, up or down. Awesome. So we just went over your 3 different tools here, your move, rotate, and scale. Next, we are going to get into building our temple for project 1.